In the heart of Jerusalem once stood a marvel, a testament to the divine craftsmanship of King Solomon. The glorious temple, adorned with gold and echoing with the reverence of worshippers, symbolized the presence of God among his people. Jerusalem was the pride of every Jew and an attraction to all who fear the Lord. The yearly pilgrimages attracted people from all over the nations. But the wicked kings will rise and bring divine judgment and consequent destruction of this glorious city of God. From the magnificent reign of Solomon, the narrative unfolds, a tale of kings, each wielding the scepter of authority. Yet, some succumb to the allure of forbidden practices, erecting altars to foreign gods within the sacred walls. The descent was gradual, marked by disobedience and abomination, ultimately triggering divine judgment. As we delve into the pages of Kings, the once resplendent city of Jerusalem transforms. We witness the reigns of Jeroboam, Manasseh, Jehoiakim, and Zedekiah, kings whose deeds provoked divine wrath, leading to the harrowing events that would unfold. The very temple, once bathed in glory, would witness the flames of Nebuchadnezzar's conquest, leaving in its wake ruins and despair. Journey with us through this video as we unfold this historic tale that have remained a horror and an irrecoverable loss to the people chosen by God. Picture this. A breathtaking marvel rising in the heart of Jerusalem, the temple built by the wisest king of them all, Solomon. It wasn't just a building, it was a symbol of grandeur, a testament to divine craftsmanship that left onlookers in awe. For 7 splendid years, craftsmen toiled ceaselessly, pouring their skill and sweat into the construction of this magnificent structure. 7 years of dedication, devotion, and determination, crafting every inch with meticulous precision. The temple was no ordinary edifice. It was a spectacle of splendor. Adorned with the finest gold and precious stones, its beauty was unparalleled. Solomon spared no expense, investing riches beyond measure. Silver, gold, cedar from Lebanon. The treasures were inexhaustible. The sheer opulence of the temple was a testament to the prosperity of a kingdom at its zenith. David and the great men of Israel had earlier made huge contributions for the building of this great house that will house the very Ark of God. They were building a house where the Lord will put his name, and they gave it all their best. Men and women brought all manner of gift for this glorious edifice. It wasn't just a building. It was a beacon of divine presence. The air around it seemed to shimmer with an aura of holiness. Worshippers approached with a sense of reverence, their hearts stirred by the grandeur of the sacred sanctuary. The temple, standing tall and resplendent, became the pride of Jerusalem, a symbol of the wealth and wisdom bestowed upon the land. What took years of labor and unquantifiable amount of resources will experience a swift destruction in years to come. The joy of the nation will become their greatest nightmare as they will witness strangers raze down this glorious masterpiece. The destruction was swift, but the cause took decades to metamorphose to a verdict that could not be erased or atoned for. Gradual descent into idolatry and accommodation of abominable ways of the heaven will make the city a desert. The abomination of the people reached its peak during the reign of Manasseh. The young king, only 12 when he ascended the throne, ruled for 55 years, but his reign was a descent into darkness. Manasseh, swayed by the allure of forbidden practices, embraced the abominations of the heathen. He defied the divine commands, rebuilding the high places his father Hezekiah had dismantled. Altars to Baal rose in defiance, and the groves echoed the sins of Ahab, king of Israel. Within the sacred walls of the Lord's house, altars for the host of heaven emerged. Unthinkable acts unfolded as Manasseh made his own son pass through the fire, practiced dark arts, and dealt with spirits and wizards. He did worse than the Amorites, whom the Lord expelled from the land. The Lord is no respecter of person. Israel will suffer the same fate like the Canaanites. A graven image of the grove defiled the sanctity of the chosen house in Jerusalem. The Lord's warning to David and Solomon echoed unheard as Manasseh led Judah into a spiral of wickedness. The people, seduced by his malevolent influence, surpassed the sins of the nations the Lord had destroyed before them. The prophets cried out in warning, but Manasseh's deeds continued to paint the entire Judah with wickedness and abominations. The Lord's verdict thundered forth. I am bringing such evil upon Jerusalem and Judah that whosoever hears of it, both his ears shall tingle. The line of Samaria and the plummet of the house of Ahab would measure the destruction as Jerusalem would be wiped clean, turned upside down like a dish. The remnant of the Lord's inheritance would be forsaken, delivered into the hands of enemies, becoming prey and spoil. Manasseh's legacy was one of innocent bloodshed, staining Jerusalem from end to end. The divine anger smoldered, reaching back to the days of their forefathers in Egypt. The sin, the provocations, all led to a relentless judgment. As Manasseh slept with his fathers, buried in the garden of his house, but he has left an irreparable damage over the land. He has made a clean separation of the people from the laws of God. He has replaced righteousness with wickedness. Amon, his son, would inherit his father's evil legacy. Amidst the darkness that shrouded Judah, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of Josiah, a king with a heart turned towards righteousness. Josiah, unlike his predecessor Manasseh, sought to mend the sins that plagued the land. With zeal, Josiah purged the land of its idols, tearing down the altars to foreign gods that stained the sacred soil. The high places, rebuilt by Manasseh, were dismantled once again, and the groves, symbols of corruption, were destroyed. Josiah spared no effort in cleansing the house of the Lord, removing the graven images that defiled its sanctity. In his quest for righteousness, Josiah rediscovered the book of the law, the forgotten commandments of the Lord. Touched by remorse and repentance, he tore his clothes, recognizing the gravity of the sins committed by his forefathers. Seeking divine guidance, he inquired of the Lord, and the response came with a mixture of judgment and mercy. The Lord acknowledged Josiah's humility and the sorrow in his heart. Although the judgment against Jerusalem and Judah was inevitable, the calamity would be delayed, allowing Josiah to pass away in peace before witnessing the impending destruction. Josiah, stirred by the divine message, initiated widespread reforms. He gathered the people, from the least to the greatest, and solemnly renewed the covenant with the Lord. Passover was reinstated, observed with a fervor unseen in years. Yet, the shadow of judgment lingered, for the sins of Manasseh and his predecessors had left an indelible mark. Josiah's efforts, while commendable, couldn't fully erase the consequences of the past. By this time, the nation is becoming weaker, and foreign dominance was creeping in. Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, was the first to make Judah his servant, and they pay tributary to him. He even removed a king and then made another son of Josiah, Eliakim, king. He gave him the name Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, made a deal with Nebuchadnezzar, the powerful king of Babylon. They agreed that Judah would be a sort of friend to Babylon and follow its rules. But, unfortunately, Jehoiakim didn't keep his promise. Instead of staying loyal to Babylon, Jehoiakim rebelled. He didn't want to follow Nebuchadnezzar's instructions anymore. This made Nebuchadnezzar very angry. As a consequence, Nebuchadnezzar sent his armies to attack Judah. The consequences were severe. Jerusalem was besieged, and many people faced suffering and hardship. Jehoiakim's decision to break the agreement brought a lot of trouble to Judah. The once friendly alliance turned into a conflict with devastating outcomes for the people and the city. His son Jehoiakim, took over the throne under such a tense atmosphere. The city that was once dreaded and feared has become a vulnerable land. Nebuchadnezzar, the powerful king of Babylon, led the siege against Jerusalem. The city, once bustling with life, now stood besieged, its fate hanging in the balance. Jehoiakim, recognizing the inevitable, went out to meet the Babylonian king. The 8th year of Jehoiakim's reign became a fateful moment as Nebuchadnezzar seized the young king and his entourage. The treasures of the Lord's house and the king's palace were plundered, and the golden vessels crafted by Solomon were shattered, fulfilling the Lord's forewarning. Jerusalem faced a devastating exodus. Its people, princes, and mighty warriors, numbering 10,000, were carried away captive. Craftsmen and smiths, the skilled hands that once shaped the city, were not spared. Jehoiakim, along with the king's mother, wives, officers, and the mighty of the land, were led into captivity, leaving behind a city stripped of its strength. 7,000 men of might, along with 1,000 craftsmen and smiths, became captives bound for Babylon. In the aftermath, Nebuchadnezzar appointed Mattaniah, Jehoiakim's uncle, as the puppet king, renaming him Zedekiah. Zedekiah, too, succumbed to the path of evil, following in the footsteps of his predecessors. The wrath of the Lord weighed heavily on Jerusalem and Judah. Zedekiah's defiance against the king of Babylon sparked rebellion, sealing the fate of the once proud city. In the shadow of doom, the 9th year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign unveiled a chilling fate for Jerusalem. The Babylonian king, with his mighty host, encircled the city, constructing formidable forts that whispered of impending destruction. The siege endured, stretching from the 10th day of the 10th month into the 11th year of Zedekiah's reign. As the days crawled forward, hunger gripped the city, and the people, desperate for bread, faced the harsh reality of famine. Then, under the cover of night, the city crumbled. Men of war fled through a secret gate, and the Chaldean army pursued, scattering Zedekiah's forces like leaves in the wind. In the plains of Jericho, Nebuchadnezzar's grasp tightened, capturing Zedekiah and bringing him before the king's judgment. A gruesome scene unfolded. Zedekiah's sons fell, slain before his eyes, and the king himself faced darkness as his eyes were gouged out. Bound in brass fetters, he became a captive on the sorrowful journey to Babylon. The 5th month, the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar's rule, witnessed the arrival of Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard. Fire engulfed the house of the Lord, the king's palace, and every grand dwelling in Jerusalem. The once impregnable walls crumbled at the hands of the Chaldean army. The remnants of the people, both those who remained and those who sought refuge with the Babylonians, were carried away by Nebuzaradan. The poor were spared, left to toil as vine dressers and husbandmen. The pillars of brass, the vessels of gold and silver, the sacred artifacts, all were shattered, pillaged, and carried off to Babylon. Even the leaders of Jerusalem faced a grim fate. Chief priests, officers, and those who once stood in the king's presence were taken to Riblah, where they met their end by the king of Babylon's decree. Gedaliah, appointed ruler over those who remained, assured the people's safety in the land. But treachery lurked in the shadows. In the 7th month, Ishmael, of royal blood, struck down Gedaliah. Fearful of the Chaldeans, the people, small and great, captains of armies, sought refuge in Egypt, leaving behind the desolation of their homeland. In the 37th year of Jehoiakin's captivity, evil Merodach, the new king of Babylon, lifted Jehoiakin from prison, offering a glimmer of mercy in his later years. The once captive king, treated kindly, found solace in a throne above his fellow exiles, an unexpected turn in the haunting tale of Jerusalem's demise. The Book of Lamentation reveals the horror and ruin that was left from the once glorious city. Jeremiah goes on to describe the terrible effect afterwards in these horrifying words. How doth the city sit solitary, that was full of people? How is she become as a widow? She that was great among the nations, and princess among the provinces, how is she become tributary? She weepeth sore in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers she hath none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They are become her enemies. Judah is gone into captivity because of affliction, and because of great servitude. She dwelleth among the heathen, she findeth no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits. The ways of Zion do mourn, because none come to the solemn feasts. All her gates are desolate, her priests sigh, her virgins are afflicted, and she is in bitterness. Her adversaries are the chief, her enemies prosper. For the Lord hath afflicted her for the multitude of her transgressions. Her children are gone into captivity before the enemy. And from the daughter of Zion all her beauty is departed. Her princes are become like harts that find no pasture, and they are gone without strength before the pursuer. Jerusalem remembered in the days of her affliction and of her miseries all her pleasant things that she had in the days of old, when her people fell into the hand of the enemy, and none did help her. The adversaries saw her, and did mock at her Sabbaths. Jerusalem hath grievously sinned, therefore she is removed. All that honored her despise her, because they have seen her nakedness. Yea, she sigheth, and turneth backward. Sin brings ruins. The same nation exalted by God for righteousness was brought down because of iniquity, a lesson for all.